When I was 20 years old, 21, 22, 23, when I was in my early 20s, not mid-20s, but early 20s, I was a mess. And you know what's worse than that is not knowing that you're a mess. But looking back, I wasn't a bad person, I was a good person. I just thought I knew it all. I was fearless, I was brave, I was invincible. At least I thought. And looking back, and I do that often because I talk to a lot of young people, I see a lot of similarities in how they are and the way I used to be. And I'd like to say, what would I do different? Well, first of all, let me show you how I was when I was in my early 20s. 20, 21, 22, 23. At 24, I changed. And I changed for the better. And that's hopefully what happens to a lot of these younger people. I got kicked out of a university. I was arrested when I was 22 for a misdemeanor petty theft, a 12-pack of beer in Los Angeles. And I wasn't doing much. I was broke. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't, like I said, doing much, so I needed some structure and discipline, guidance. When I was in my early 20s, I didn't have a lot of experience. And I had a conversation with an 83-year-old this past weekend. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. So I thought I knew it all. And if somebody would have sat down with me and said, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, most likely what would have happened is they would have gone through here and come out here, or it would have bounced back. And I would not have understood what they were talking about. And I share this because, like I said a moment ago, when I speak or when I see young people, not all young people, but sometimes, often, and sometimes people that are in their mid-20s or early 30s. And that's the sadder part, because just like I went through a lot of these similar things, probably even worse than others, I was able to get my act together and do the right thing. Do the right thing first and foremost for myself, then for my family, for my community, and just the people that are around me. Whereas some people struggle in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, and they get used to that. That's the sad part. Going back to this 83-year-old that I talked to this past weekend, I said, has your time gone by quick? Has it gone by quickly? Yes or no? And he said it's flown by. Life flies by, but what are we doing with our lives? Are we making the most of the moments? And I'm not going to say the most of every day, because life happens. And life isn't, one of those things that's a perfect day every day. That doesn't exist. So make the most of your moments. He said it just flew by. And then he thought I was going to ask him another question, which I didn't ask him the question, but it was here, and that was, does he regret anything in his life? And he said he regretted the husband that he was and the father that he was. And I don't know the specifics, but he said he would make some changes. And that's the truth for most of us, whether it's family, friends, career, education, what we do, how we are, how we react, things like that. Sometimes we look back and say, yes, I would do things different. I know I would too. But the sooner we catch ourselves and do things the right way, like I said, first and foremost for ourselves and then for others, we are going to have a lot of, the word that I'm looking for is satisfaction, self-satisfaction in your daily life, professional life, in your overall life. That's satisfaction. I have a lot of satisfaction, but I never forget my mistakes. And I will always say that I'm a work in progress. Even right now at my age, I will always be a work in progress. Been married 22 years. We will always be a work in progress, my wife and myself. It's something that I always remember, and I always aim to make things better as well. So when I was in my early 20s, that's when I should have paid attention to what others were saying. I should have learned from other people's mistakes. Yes, we're going to learn from our mistakes. That's part of life. But we should also learn from the mistakes that others make. I learned a lot from my parents. I learned on what to do, but I probably learned more on what not to do from my mother and my father. Even though I love my parents, I probably learned more of what not to do, and that's really helped me out. So now that I'm in my mid-40s, it's like day and night, the complete opposite. It's a lot of satisfaction. I'm wiser. I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. But I share this with you, the youngsters, the middle-aged people, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, the older people, and I do welcome any comments as to what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, what advice worked for you, what advice didn't work for you. Make the most of your time, and you'll have a lot of satisfaction, personal satisfaction, professional satisfaction, satisfaction with others. Take care. Have a good day.